Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you. We just have a few people that are grabbing seats at the back there. Wanted to welcome everybody. My name is Michael Nikes. I'm the president of the Sault Region Chamber of Commerce, and we're very, very pleased to be able to host this event for the public today. We have a few items that we wanted to cover off at first, just to give you an idea of what the format is going to be for the evening. But first, I wanted to say thank you to the public that has come out. We've got 400 seats set up, and it looks like we've got about 350 people in here right now. So that's a really, really good turnout. I wanted to say thank you to the candidates, of course. Ron Larson, who's doing our audio today. Mr. Jack Most, who's capturing everything on photograph today. David Stocks is our moderator, and he's just seated to my right here. And of course, our Chamber Coordinating Committee, which is Joanne Walsh and Hélène Doiron, for putting this together. So thank you to everybody, and in particular, a big thank you to the Prestige for allowing us to use this facility for this important public event. So the Chamber's All Candidates meeting is viewed in most communities as being the benchmark event, which is offering an informative type of a Q&A session for the general public and the candidates. But we want to also say thank you to other Sault community groups and individuals who put on additional All Candidate sessions earlier in the week, last week, as well as there's one or two coming up. I think this has provided a very, very good opportunity for many, many people to be able to attend at different venues and give a greater opportunity to get to know not only the candidates and their positions, but also to further assist them in making an informed decision on which way they're going to want to vote. So prior to this, the Chamber of Commerce, are we good? Prior to this, the Chamber of Commerce had put out 5 questions to the candidates. These were in relation to questions that we have gotten as a chamber organization over the course of the past year from the public, business community as well. And they're the topical items that we felt were the ones that people might be most interested in getting some responses to. We received responses to these 5 key questions from 8 out of the 12 candidates, and currently they are on the Sault Region Chamber of Commerce website. And so if you go there and you click on the events page, you'll be able to read the questions and the answers. And again, we want to make sure that we're thanking the candidates who responded, because there were some very, very thoughtful and thought-provoking answers that they provided to the questions, so we thank you for that. We have also been asking for questions from the general public over the course of the past month, and we are very pleased to say that we got well over 125 questions from the public that were just excellent. So thank you very kindly for your support on that. What we've done is we've taken those 125 questions and we've forwarded that to our moderator for this evening. So we not only encourage people to come forward to this microphone to ask questions from the floor, but we'll also be supplementing that with questions that came forward from you guys over the past month. So up here, we do have Mr. David Stocks, who's going to be our moderator for the evening. Say hello, David.
Hello, David.
Hello. Is it working?
Hello.
So David is the gentleman who's going to be facilitating the evening's event. I'll be standing here at the podium, and I've got a couple of jobs today. I want to make sure that people that are coming forward from the general public are asking their questions in a very diplomatic, professional, short and direct way. And we're also having that expectation come forward from our candidates, where we're wanting to make sure that our candidates are answering questions within about a minute's time. I've got a little red flag up here that I'll raise just to make sure people are aware that they're reaching time so that they can close off their statement. And outside of that, the only other item I wanted to cover here is just to indicate that we're going to have our councillor candidates up on stage first. We're going to have our mayoral candidates come up afterwards, and there will be a short transition period in the middle there, which David will facilitate. But at this point in time, I'd really like to just turn the balance of the evening over to our moderator, Mr. David Stock.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first part of the session, each candidate for council will make a 2-minute address to support their candidacy. They have an order of speaking has been chosen, and I would ask number 1 to start. And by the way, we are timing them, and be grateful if you would keep it to 2 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. By the luck of the draw, I'm up first, Jeff Bateman. And you all have my brochure. There's 300 of them in the room, so 50 of you don't have my brochure. So for your benefit, I am a freelance writer here in Souk. My wife and I have lived here since 2003. I specialize in tourism destination marketing materials for Vancouver Island clients. I'm also a community volunteer working with the Souk Farmland Trust Society, Edward Mill Community School, and also primarily the Transition Town Souk Society. My values and vision very much align with Transition Town values, and the buzzword in these circles is localization, which basically means local jobs, local food, working with local people, strengths, and solutions, to quote our new slogan, Transition. Interesting to me is that our Souk's official community plan is very much a model transition document. It doesn't use the word localization. However, it does use words very clear to transition's heart, such as thrivability, sustainability, environmental stewardship, Souk smart growth, etc. So how do we move forward? Well, we do it slowly, patiently, with appreciation and gratitude for what we've got. I heard from Brista today over the stick, a great acronym, KISS, which I'm sure you all are familiar with. Keep it simple, Souk. How do we keep it simple? Well, we follow the existing community plans, we remain fiscally responsible, and we focus on the primary functions of municipal government while not forgetting the heart and soul aspects of the community that make it so special. I'm probably coming up on my 2 minutes. When I look around, I'm thrilled when I see initiatives like Harborside Co-Housing and the Souk First Nations Agriculture, Solar, and Greenhouse projects, the Hope Center, the Souk Yoga Therapeutic Society, Sunward Community Garden. Michael's holding up the red flag. And so I'll just finally say, please vote yes on the ballot's 2 plebiscite questions. Both deal with vital resources in this community, our offshore marine environment, and also our youth and seniors. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you to the Chamber for once again hosting an All Candidates Forum. I think it's really important that all of you come out to get to know your candidates. I was born and raised here in Souk. Oh, by the way, for these that don't know me, my name is Beth Berger. So I was born and raised here in Souk, and after graduating from Milne, I moved away and lived in places like Victoria, San Diego, and Boston. I came back to Souk in 2006 as it was extremely important for me to raise my kids in my community. The past council has been a very successful and cohesive team. I want to finish what we started. This past council has also identified appropriate issues with fiscal responsibility by lowering taxes. We've also moved ahead with community initiatives in doing that as well. Having said that, I do think there is still room within our current budget for some improvements. Another objective we sought out was our downtown revitalization program. We've designed and adopted a policy that will help guide new development as well as any improvements through a development standards policy, all of which will have to adhere to a West Coast theme. We've also embarked on a pedestrian-friendly sidewalk program, and installation of that program should start within a few weeks. We've developed a 48-hour building permit process to help streamline development within our town. Throughout the incorporated life of Souk, which I might add is only 15 years, there's been an awful lot of planning. Now I believe it's time to put those plans in action. For example, I'd like to read to you a little excerpt from the Sustainable Development Strategy that spoke to me. The District of Souk is a unique and special place, with a significant range of widely acknowledged assets and a long history as a coastal community. The context for Souk is changing rapidly. As growth moves out from Victoria and other surrounding areas, Souk is simply put at a crossroads. Souk can become either another town struggling with development that creates unremarkable sameness, which undermines our current community character and beauty. Growth is not a question for Souk, it's inevitable. The problems that many fear around growth is that they believe it will destroy much of what is valued in our community currently. The future of Souk will be established through incremental decisions of greatness, and greatness can be achieved by a shared vision. For these reasons, I'm asking for your vote on November 15th so we can work together and foster community relationships to achieve that greatness here in our community. Thank you.
Hello there. Great crowd. Thank you all for coming tonight. First of all, I'd like to pay special thanks to the Souk Region Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, and David Stocks. I know you do a wonderful job. You always do. I'm Cal Fair. My wife and I have been in Souk for 14 years, and I've operated my plumbing business for the past 37 years here, and I retired in March of last year. Other than working, I've been active in Souk, the Rotary Club, and coaching lacrosse at the Wanufuka and Sea Park. I hope to be a member of the next Souk Council. I love Souk, and I truly believe that I can contribute to this council team. There are many issues facing Souk. The roundabout, the Souk Centre in front of Village Foods and Western Foods, more improved sidewalks, potable water for the residents in North Souk, and along with fire protection, a place to take your kitchen scraps effective January the 1st, a place for our seniors to have lunch and socialize, a new, larger library worth the hundreds of thousands of dollars we contribute each year to the Vancouver Island Library, a new artificial turf field, perhaps for the children playing soccer and football. These issues seem to swirl around year after year and never seem to get resolved. With my background in business, sports, and Rotary, I believe this gives me the tools to work with the other 5 councils and mayor to find a collective solutions to our problems and work together to implement the decisions. I'm committed 100% to this job, and I promise you I will do my very best to represent the businesses and residents of Souk and work to a respectful, cordial, business-like manner with my mayor and fellow councillors. Thank you for coming tonight, and I hope you give me your vote on November 15th. Thank you.
Thank you, and appreciate everybody taking the time out of your busy schedules to come out here tonight. I'm Carrie Ray, and I'm seeking re-election for a second term. A bit of background, I'm originally born and raised in Calgary. I moved to BC in 1981. I've worked for the BC Corrections Branch for 30 years in a variety of roles. I started off as a youth and adult probation officer, parole officer. I did mediation and conciliation in family court counseling, and I worked as a supervisor for nearly 20 years at a number of communities across BC. I took a position as a project manager in 2006, and my husband and I moved to Souk in 2008 as we chose this as our home. For the last 6 years, I've been commuting from Souk to downtown Victoria, and I do take transit, and my volunteer work has involved decades of fundraising for different charities and organizations. I spent 8 years with the Canadian Cancer Society. I did emergency aid, as well as facilitated some support groups. Locally, I sit as a board director on the Souk Seniors Housing Society. In terms of the election, a couple of things. I run independently, and I have funded my own campaign. What do I bring to council? Well, I bring 30 years of skills I've developed working in the public service. I bring a term sitting on council. And I think the skills that are really important that I bring are listening. It's my job to understand what the community and the people of Souk want. And over the summer and the last couple of months, I've been meeting with business leaders and people in the community, listening to that. 2, I'm a team player. I've spent a good part of my career supporting really healthy work environments, and I think it's my job as a member of a council, as a team, to foster that. And I'm a hard worker, and I'm committed, and I'm committed to being fair and consistent in my decision making. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone attending and listening to us tonight. I do appreciate your time. My name is Mark Waitson, and my background is spent one entirely in the private sector. I've worked for a variety of companies, small and large, over the years, from Universal Music Canada, where I had to negotiate and deal with Walmart, Zeller at the highest end. And we all know that there's going to be a lot of negotiations that are up this coming term. And you're going to need someone that has a very easy mandate before we get into any negotiations. And that is the art of negotiation is the ability to walk away. And we will have to find and work hard to find alternatives before we get into any of these negotiations, so we can make sure the people of Souk get the best deal this time that they deserve. I've lived in Souk for 8 years, and I'll be honest with you, this town grows on you very, very quickly, as I'm sure many of us appreciate here. And I have no intention of leaving, whether you like it or not. And to that end, you know, I care about this community and I care about the direction we're all going in. And what I want to bring to the council that's upcoming, besides the ability to negotiate pretty hard and, you know, with a smile too, because I enjoy it, is some fundamental and radical ways in which we start spending our money. We have a very, very limited tax base with limited amount of funds, and we've got to look after the fundamentals first and foremost, before anything else. The money's there if we look at how we spend it properly. That is on the infrastructure, the emergency services, the fire, the police. Everyone talks about sidewalks. We've heard sidewalks in the 8 years I've been here, and really can't say I've seen any. You know, all I see is white lines protecting children in the darkness, wearing dark clothes with no flashlights. So, you know, these are the things that have got to be a priority for everyone. I have a few priorities myself, like the policing and the sidewalks, but I look forward to hearing from every one of you about what your priorities are and how we spend our money on the whole, not the few. Thank you very much. Vote Waitson. Cheers.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Kevin Pearson. I've lived in Souk for 57 years. I married my high school sweetheart, Trudy, about 35 years ago. I thought I'd better say that tonight because Caspero did me the other night. But I want to start off with why I'm running. I ran 3 years ago because I thought that I could help the community of Souk, because I love Souk. I was born here, raised here. I served my apprenticeship in a forest industry that no longer exists. So I've seen that transition, and I've seen good jobs leave our town. And I've seen the largely commuting community that I still have that passion for, that I really care about Souk. You know, I often hear when I'm at my other job at Canada Post, and I'm the operations manager for about 500 employees. And a lot of times people will make a joke about me and they'll say, yeah, you can take the boy out of Souk. But you know what? That makes me smile when you can't take the Souk out of the boy. Everybody in this room cares about Souk, and that's why you're here. Over the last 3 years, I've learned a lot about local government. Some of those lessons I've learned are what not to do. And what's really cool about our community, and what's really passionate about our community, nobody's afraid to tell me when I've made mistakes. I really like that. And you know what? That's the community that we've always grown up in. We have a great, rich past. We have a real cool present, and we have an even cooler future. But we've got to look after it. This council that I've worked with over the last 3 years, we've endeavored to make 92% of our decisions unanimous. We've worked hard to try and move the community ahead, keep spending in line, and all I can promise you is that I will continue on that method. I love Souk. You'll hear me say that every time I'm here. I love the fact that my children live here in Souk. 2 of them live in Hicksville, sort of like. But it's still Souk. Otter Point Road is still Souk. On November 15th, I'm asking for you to come out and give me your vote of support like you did last time. I promise you, I'll keep Souk in mind.
Hello everyone, my name is Justin Hansen. I'm probably, well, not the youngest here, I guess Ebony Lodgins is, but I moved to Souk 3.5 years ago with my young family. I've got a 5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old at home. My 5-year-old attends foyer. I've been working as a lawyer now for the past 11 years, mostly in the field of strata corporation law. As a result, I have negotiated dozens of major construction contracts, employment contracts, and been involved in any number of disputes, many of them involving municipalities. So I know my ways in and around bylaws, I know my way in and around the construction process as well as the development process. So I have some background in that. Now, I'm here today on behalf of the pro-amalgamation party. You may have seen our swanky orange and green signs all the way down the call with Crawl Back to Soup. Why am I running for the pro-amalgamation party? Well, there's a number of reasons for that. But the main reason, and I'm just going to ask you to keep your ears open and alive to the questions that are being asked tonight. You're going to hear a lot of questions about how Souk as a municipality can bring businesses and people into Souk, right? You're going to hear a lot of questions about that. Ask yourself, why are those questions being asked? The reason is because we live in a system where there are 13 competing municipalities in what is essentially a market system. They compete with one another for jobs, they compete with one another for development and for residents. So, if I heard someone say earlier that growth in Souk is inevitable. It's not. If we don't foster our businesses, if we don't foster our residential developments, we will not grow. If businesses are not supported, they will leave. They have left. So we need to do something to change that. My thought is on this that we should look into amalgamation. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out and spending your night here listening to all of us, and thank you for your questions in advance. My name is Ebony Logans, and I'm running for council in the District of Souk because it's my hometown and it's somewhere that I love to be. So I'm going to tell you why I got into it, why I'm up here today. I'm here to make sure that youth and young families are a valued and integral part of community development in the Souk region. I was working with the Youth Council in Souk a few years ago when we did research with some young students, 50 of them, and we asked them how many wanted to stay in Souk after graduation. About half of them raised their hands and the other half did not. They were going to travel, they were going to find work elsewhere, they were going to school. And then we asked the same group, are you going to return? And every one of them raised their hands. So at that point, I realized that these young people are going to be leaving Souk to gain these worldly experiences and come back with lots of interesting experiences and knowledge to put back into our town. They're going to be raising families here, buying homes, and they will be starting businesses here. So when we started talking to them about their concerns in Souk, a lot of them started mentioning development and how that would affect them when they returned. So I wanted to make sure that we as a council and as a town nurtured these young people so that they understand community development and how it works in their town and become a really valued part of this community. So on November 15th, I asked for your support in creating that intergenerational approach and intercultural approach to community development in the Souk region. If you need more information after this, please feel free to contact me through my website at ebonylogans.com. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rick Casper, and I've had the privilege of living in Souk for 22 years. And, you know, sometimes you can never outdo Kevin Pearson. But I will say this, that when our council was first elected, 2011, it was not a pretty picture for us. We had to roll up our sleeves and we had to put our heads together as to how we can put our fiscal house in order, how we can make decisions that are going to benefit the entire community, how we can bring taxpayers back to the decision-making table. We did that for the very first time, inviting taxpayers to sit with the Finance Administration Committee and have equal votes, the same as 3 councillors. We also did that with our Land Use Committee, equal votes with the councillors. We have carried on even further, live web streaming, very first in the capital region. The others were taped and shown the next day, and all other municipalities are following our lead. We've encouraged greater public input. But I just don't want to rest on what we've done. It's our future that we have to look at. It's our young working families, our seniors, and our youth. We want to make sure that our community remains sustainable for all of us, to make sure that we protect our environment, we protect it in a way that still provides employment opportunities and jobs for our young people. We want to make sure that all of us work together. And I say we, because that's been what this council has done. We work together. And I've never seen anything like it, and I defy anybody to go and search out the records of other municipalities and see how well they've worked together compared to us. So I want to thank you for coming here tonight. This is a great crowd. We had an excellent meeting the other night, and I hope that carries on tonight. So I look forward to your support on November 15th, because you know what? There's some great people up here. We're all different. We're none the lesser, and I'd be proud to serve with all of them. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brenda Parkinson, and I'm pleased to see all of you here this evening. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and David Stocks for being out here to host our event this evening. There are those that speak eloquently, and there are those that are passionate and like to get the work done. I happen to be passionate, and I plan to work very hard for all of you. I'm extremely proud of all the work that I've done in our community. I've accomplished a number of projects over the past number of years with a great team of volunteers. We're extremely proud of everything that we have done. I was previously a member of a city council, so I am aware of the going on and what needs to be done to be able to perform the work. I take great pride in what I do, and I consider myself to be a team player and to be passionate about what I do. My father, Bob Clark, was regional director here in Sooke for 2 terms, and he taught me many things about being on Sooke Council. And one of the main things that he taught me was that when you have a project brought before you and you're looking at it and you're trying to decide what needs to be done for the people of Sooke, you need to take your time and have all the information required to make that important decision. You need to have all the information before you, and if you do not, you need to vote against certain issues, because in the end they can always be brought back and a proper decision can be made with the best interests of everybody in mind. On November 15th, I would really appreciate your vote for me, and I look forward to working for all of you. Thank you very much.
So I'd like to thank the candidates for their introductory statements. At this point in time, what we're going to be doing is asking people from the floor that are interested in asking questions to please come up and form a line just at this point here. We will be asking that whatever questions you're bringing forward, if you can only perhaps indicate 1 or 2 of the candidates to answer that question as opposed to every single one, that way we'll have everyone having an opportunity to answer questions. And we will intersplice that with questions from our moderator. So as the line forms here, I think we'll start with David and a question from you, sir.
Thank you very much. In fact, these questions have come from the citizens of Sooke. These were among the questions that were written on pieces of paper and put in those little acrylic boxes around town. And we're going to go in reverse order of the opening comments to control the answering. And 2 councillors will answer each question. First question then goes to number 10. This is about fire and protective services. Please describe your view of firefighting and protective services, especially regarding the areas remote from downtown. For example, Sun River and down Gillespie Road.
I would like to say that I have a real concern about the fire and how many fire volunteers that we have in our department. I think that we need to recruit more people. I think that all 3 stations should be up and running. We've had a number of fires this past year, like really recently, and for our firemen and women to work properly, they need the equipment and the education to help serve our community better. Thank you.
Yes, over the course of the past 3 years, we've increased our firefighting budget, and we've made provisions so that we can look at more cost-effective ways to provide the valuable training for our volunteers. No volunteers are denied any level of training whatsoever. The approximate cost to provide training to district taxpayers is roughly $18,000 to achieve level 2 training. We adhere to the requirements by the insurance underwriters, and they set the standards for what we should be providing within the district of Sioux. We're always looking for more volunteers. That's why we, for the first time ever, offered a 1-year honorarium up to $1,000 for any volunteer who provides volunteer services for the district of Sioux. Can we do better? Yes. We need partnership to do better, so that's what I strive to work for in the coming 4 years. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paul Holmes. Thank you, all of you, for putting your names forward. I know it's not an easy job, but I've come up tonight actually with a very easy question. For those of you who don't know, as I was walking my son to school when it finally got started this year, I was walking down a new road to Poirier School, which is the continuation of Aaronwood, which looks fantastic. There's a nice little turnaround there. There's a sidewalk on one side of the road. Unfortunately, upon walking to school, where we used to have a path, there's now 3 very busy crosswalks. And there's literally dozens of kids that have now to cross the street in a highly congested, very busy area, twice a day, 6 road crossings. It's an absolute mess and an absolute disaster. Now you could hire 3 crossing guards twice a day, or you could build a sidewalk across the street. Building a sidewalk across the street would result in 0 crossings for all of those kids in the highly busy area. So my question is very simple, and the moderator, this gentleman here, who's not the moderator, the president, El Presidente here, has allowed me to ask each of you, rather than a long-winded answer, a yes or no question, will you make it a priority in the interest of the safety of the children who attend Poirier School in this community to build a sidewalk when it's feasible, within the budget to do so, as quickly as possible, build that sidewalk in the interest of the safety? All of you I know have talked individually, and you have a detailed information as to what the issue is, and I'd appreciate a yes or no answer. Thank you.
Well, I'll do a show of hands. That's a yes.
Is anyone opposed to the building of the aforementioned sidewalk? Then you agree then that you will all support practice safety.
I think we'd all support it, but we need to look at the realities of what's being asked here. I walked that route. My child goes to Poirier. I'm invested in this. But when you look at where it's being built, there's only new houses which have not yet been built down to the intersection of Caffrey. After that, there's existing gardens. So at some point, there's going to have to be a road crossing. Beyond that, if you look at where the sidewalk is, there is both municipal services and BC Hydro Box is right smack in the middle of where that sidewalk would go. Those services would have to be moved. So there's a lot to it. While I'm in support of it, it's not a yes or no question. Asking yes or no questions is not really helpful.
The next question also coming from the people of Souk. By the way, there were 68 questions to the councillors. I boiled it down to 10 subject areas because there was a lot of repetition. This has to do with roads and traffic, and it'll be answered by Mr. Fair and Ms. Ray. Please give us your views about traffic in Souk, including the need for additional lights at busy intersections, flashing crosswalks, shoulder parking near this hotel, which apparently is an issue, access to the outside world when Highway 14 is blocked, and the impact of silver spray. Those points all came up.
Well, that's a serious question. Well, I think the roundabout going in will have some benefit on that. There's other plans that I understand that go in behind Western Foods and work their way around, possibly along Wadham Way. I'm not privileged to know exactly what the plans are for that area, but yes, we do need to improve the in and outs for Souk. I'm going to get the people in Sun River to turn right when they come down and come and visit our buildings downtown.
Thank you. There's certainly no question that the road infrastructure that we have in Souk needs to be looked at, that allows for better transportation, better movement in and around the community that's also safe. I think we need to look at developing the Goodmere Road. We need to make sure that the sidewalks are connected. The roundabout is something that this council has worked very hard at getting ready to go. We also need to look at Otter Point and Souk Road, because I really think that's part of the backup all the way to Phillips Road. And I certainly believe that we need to look at the infrastructure between the end of the 4 lanes coming out of Langford to Souk. There are plans that have that are I'm sure somewhere in some office that could be dusted off, because we definitely need an alternate route to move the traffic. And it's also about economic development. Those roads and infrastructure are critical. Thank you.
This will be answered by Mr. Pearson and Mr. Whites. Question has to do with the town center. Please give us your views about the town center, attractiveness, access to the waterfront, and decoration at celebration seasons, such as Halloween. There appears to be some envy of the way Langford decorates its downtown.
Well, if I was going to give it a grade, I'd say C- for all 3 of those, and that's unfortunate. The number 1 issue that I hear about in this election is their town center. So, are there viable solutions? I think there are viable solutions, and I think we have an OCP that dictates that. I think we've just rewritten, I know we've just rewritten bylaw 65, but incorporates some design guidelines for downtown. I think the access to the harbor is critical. You've heard that mentioned just by one of the previous speakers about Goodmere. And I think we have to encourage development towards the water and take full advantage of our harbor, which is one of our most beautiful assets that we have. I think it is the single most beautiful asset that we have. So as far as town center and decorating at festivities, at our last council meeting, or the one before last, we approved a small grant to improve that. And I think it's incremental steps to making things get better. What we can afford as we go forward, but keep in mind that there is a design and that we should all be part of that.
Okay. From what I see, we have an OCB in place. That was decided by everyone in Souk. There was hours and hours of time put in by everyone in Souk. And for us as public servants to make our own decisions to change what is in the OCP seems a bit asinine to me. The people of Souk have decided we are public servants after all, and we should be following what everyone wants to the greater good of the whole. When it comes to how far we can push all that through, to be honest, unless we've got the priorities done, the emergency services looked after, so we've got them up to the needs of this community, the policing, the fire service, Some of the infrastructure needs to be looked at straight away, like the sidewalks, and we've got to start thinking about the long term and the limited resources we have to make sure that the infrastructure is up there first and foremost before we spend money on decorations. While they're lovely, we've got to make sure we have the core stuff done first and foremost. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Emily and my question is for Ebony. I can't help but notice that I am part of an extreme minority in this room as a 20-year-old voter. So my question for Ebony is, do you have a plan or do you have ideas to get youth that have stayed in this community but have maybe graduated from EMCS, which is their hub for getting involved, to vote and to care and to be involved in, especially the municipal election? And it's not necessarily an indication that they might not vote, but I don't see a lot of my peers here. So do you have a plan to change that?
Hi Emily, thank you for the question. It's a question I've been asked a lot lately, of course, with my platform being mainly focused on youth. And my question back to you would be, why are you here today? What has brought you here? So I would work with young people that I work with them on a daily basis. So I would work with them to come up with a plan on how we are going to be an integral part of the community. I know that one thing I would do right off the bat is just make that my #1 priority. Talking to people about the things you don't hear every day. What is an OCP? Right? I know. but only because I went to school and got a degree in tourism and recreation management, and that was part of the program. So those who didn't get that opportunity might not have a clue what the heck we're talking about, and they're probably not here because they don't have a clue what the heck an all candidates meeting is, or what I've been asked by a lot of young people, what is council? You know, and so there are a lot of different things we need to do, starting with making sure people understand what this is all about and what community development is about in Souk.
Would Mr. Berger like to speak to them?
Sorry, thank you. Is this on? There we go. Yes, actually, I think that's a fantastic question, and actually, Mr. Bateman and I were just talking about that before the meeting started, that youth turnout is really, really low, I think, in all municipalities. Souk has just recently, over the past term, actually the term and a half, developed a youth council. So my ideas going forward would be to empower that youth council. Right now, our youth council meets at the high school during their lunch hours, which of course is convenient for them, but I don't think we as a municipality give them a voice at our table. So I think it'd be fantastic to empower the current youth council that we do have and that the municipality funds for their initiatives. They're an extremely enthusiastic group of people, and it would be really great to give them a voice at our table, whether it be once a month through whether we call it the acting mayor or the acting member of our current council. It would be fantastic to get them involved in municipal issues.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Tefalco. I've lived in Souk basically all my life. I think what I'd like to do is applaud what Rick Capsper was saying earlier, the efforts to open up council and government to the wider public through live streaming of meetings. I think you guys need to go a lot further. I think we need to go a lot further with that. Further to what you guys were just talking about, which is how do we get youth involved? Well, there are a lot of youth. What are they doing? What are the young people doing right now? Well, I can tell you, they're all on their phones. They're all on Facebook. Okay, they're all on the internet. You're not. Enough. I propose to you that you work to move council into this era of this digital world. I personally, the reason I'm here, the reason I'm happy to speak to all of you, is I'm very passionate about the governance of this town. I love this town, and I really want to be involved in all the decisions. I want to have my say. I want to let you know what I think. I own a business. I've got a young family. I don't have time to make it out to meetings where I can let you know my opinion. And I suspect many of you don't as well. my proposal to you is to move from a physical site to one that's more web-based, where, for instance, you have Twitter town hall type stuff, basically where people can put questions to you and have their say online and be a part of the meeting without actually physically going there. So my question to you is, and to the two people I want to ask, it's to you, Mr. Casper, because you've indicated that you're a fan of that kind of thing and that you'd like to move further with that, and also to you, Ebony, because you're interested in getting young people involved. And so my question to you is, what would you propose specifically to accomplish those goals of moving us forward into the digital age as a governing, as a council? And I actually have another question, but I'll wait.
Great, listen, that's a great question. What I wrote down was app, so that maybe we could start pursuing it, i.e. people's phones, and because they're miles ahead of us. Young people are learning more things on their device than what any of us in this room can imagine. One of the things that I brought forward to council to consider, and that is citizen budget, and that is the idea of having web streaming and live interaction with council for budget deliberations, to get public input from everybody in this community, to learn how the budget process works from their own home, to be involved in the decision making. Other cities, towns, villages across this country are doing that. So I think we can do more. I love that you got up, because that's a great idea. Now, as far as engaging youth a little more, I think we should probably do some more embracing with our community school, and perhaps people like myself and other counselors, our financial people, go and speak to them while they're in school. But thank you very much for the question and the opportunity.
Mr. Trapalco, everyone, round of applause for the question. That was a really lame round of applause for one of the very few young people who showed up and had the guts to come and ask a good question. It's people like this that we need to serve in this community. Sorry. Whew. I swear, that's another question I get asked. Are you able to handle this? Yes, I am. But seriously, anyway, I'm wasting my time. I want to answer by agreeing with what Mr. Casper said. I know there are a lot of innovative people in this town. We have a young person who just graduated a year ago who started a business with online web development, app development. So we can work with young people to create that at very little cost, and hiring local talent. There are a lot of young people who would be interested in helping us out with that as well. So it's not so much what we can do, but it's what we can empower our youth to do. Thank you.
Little process check, if I may. Mr. Bateman, you have not answered anything, is that right?
I have not yet.
So my record keeping is more or less in order. Well, to you, sir, the question has to do with the business climate. Please tell us how you would work to improve the business climate in Sioux, including supporting local businesses, attracting new businesses, particularly restaurants and pubs were asked for, working with the... I didn't make this up. Working with the Chamber of Commerce and the Sioux Region Tourism Association, for example. Mr. Bateman and then Ms. Parker.
I don't think, is this on?
You just turned it off.
Okay, now it's on. I answered a very long series of those 5 questions. If you go to the Sioux Chamber of Commerce website, you'll see all those answers. What would I do for business in downtown Sioux? I would listen to the mayor's advisory panel on economic development, and I would listen to the Chamber of Commerce and see what they have to say. I know we need improved parking downtown. Businesses are having some trouble there. There's talk of 3-hour parking limit signs going up in the core, which would be very useful and get people going to the park and rides and not taking up those slots all day long. I think one of the key things would be some sort of economic development officer, or some form of the district going out and actively wooing and supporting existing businesses and also targeted businesses, targeted developers, event producers, and residents to come to our town core and to our town and start building some momentum in the core, and that will serve us in many ways. I could go on, but as I say, go to the Chamber of Commerce website for a very lengthy, extended answer. Thank you.
I would like to see us work with the Chamber of Commerce, to work with the Economic Development Commission, and with the businesses in Soup. I think that our downtown core has to be improved. We need sidewalks, we need moving areas, we need a gathering place for the people downtown so that we can congregate there and to go and use the services. I think that the outlying areas where they're home-based businesses are not as included as much, but they are a strong necessity for our town. And I think that if we had an open forum where all businesses would come and tell everyone what they're doing for their home-based businesses, we would all have maybe a desire to go use those services as well. Because driving around the streets when you're looking at what is happening in our town, I see different signs and I have no idea what businesses are going there. So we all have to come together and work together. Thank you.
Hi, my question is, how can animal lovers and especially taxpayers who find a colony of starving cats in the backyard can be sure that you are going to help these animals and help them during the next term? The question, during the last candidate meeting, you mentioned the SPCA, but the SPCA does not work with feral cats. The question goes for Beth Berger and for Carol Ray, please.
It has to do with feral cats and SPCA.
Yes, I thank you. As we said last week, it's a hard topic because I appreciate the work that you're doing and I appreciate what you're trying to advocate towards with helping feral cats. But is it taxpayer dollars, and is that what's important for taxpayer dollars at this present time, to give a piece of land, build a barn, and build a facility for the works that you're doing? As I said last week, we do pay the CRD to the tune of $70,000 a year for animal control. If the question that you're asking is the CRD doesn't do enough, then maybe the incoming council can work with the CRD to see how they can maybe help you. There are SPCAs up and down the island that have previously closed, so I think that this is a common problem with municipalities. So again, if your question is, will we work towards maybe getting the CRD involved, helping with SPCA, of course I'd entertain looking into that. But as far as giving a piece of land, building a building to help with the cause that you currently have going, I just don't see that feasible for taxpayer dollars.
Sorry, felt the glasses, it's hard to actually see. You, Ms. Dominguez, you've come before council on a number of occasions, and as Ms. Berger has said, you know, it's about the taxpayers' money. And I do my own bit. I've dropped off food for your cats, for the feral cats at your place, and so I do support the notion of the work that you do, and that's your choice. But I struggle expecting the taxpayers of Soup, with so many other priorities, to fund a place to put the shelter. I think we do have an opportunity to have a conversation with the CRD. We do fund the CRD, and as Ms. Berger has said, there's not really much more I can add. I do appreciate the work you do, but not at the tune of the taxpayers' money. Sorry.
Thank you. This question is a combination of several questions having to do with recreation services. Please give us your views about recreation and support services for youth and for seniors. Citizens are interested in a permanent senior center, a youth drop-in center, possible expansion of the Sea Park Recreation Complex, and the fate of the Soup Potholes Campground. Let me just check my list here. Mr. Hanson, followed by Mr. Pearson.
This thing seems to turn off every time someone picks it up. I moved to Souk because of the recreation, to be honest. I'm an avid paddler, and you'll often see me paddling up and down the coastline on my stand-up paddleboard and a kayak. I would love to see a paddling center built in Souk. We have an unparalleled harbor for it, but that would serve me and my type. But with respect to the expansion of Sea Park, when we have the money to do it, and there is an obvious benefit to doing it, I think we should. We need to have a place where our kids can go on the rainy days so that they're not running around downtown or hanging out at McDonald's. We need recreation facilities for the youth. A senior center might actually attract people who are elderly to Souk. I know my mom and dad, my dad's in his 80s, he loves the Whitman Spit area and would move out here, except that he is worried about the lack of support for people of his age out here. It's a long, winding highway, and we're a long way from medical services. So, again, I would support that when we have the money and when it benefits us as a municipality. Thank you.
Wow, there's about 4 prongs to that question. The Youth and Senior Center, I think the question has been bandied around on this council over the last 3 years, and we've attempted to get that question on the ballot. I think that you have to take smart money, what a community can afford. I think there's a need for a youth and a senior center. But I think we have to use the money very, very wisely, because we don't have a lot of resources. I think that refurbishment of our community hall is an option that we need to look at. I think it's the grand old lady of the center of Souk, and I think with the right amount of money, the right architect, the right design, I think we can afford it, and I think it's in the right place. As we start enhancing sidewalks, and you're going to see construction any day, our downtown will not be recognizable within 5 years, and that's where we're headed to. We have a great plan in place, and I strongly endorse refurbishment of the community hall. I think it's a wise choice. The Sea Park expansion, I think this council has got money put away. Mr. Casper will tell you the exact amount from the Finance Committee, but we are moving towards that expansion. We work with Mike Hicks and the regional district. We have some great plans. The Soup Potholes campsite, that's out of our control. This council voted not to give them a tax release or forgiveness on their taxes. So difficult for us to always be trying to boil the ocean and make everything work. I think we've got some cool, smart ideas. Take advantage of them, and we can do something in this town.
I seek a question, one first. Legal matter and opinion, and I would like comments from Mr. Telfair and Ms. Carrie Ray, Councillor. Having experience in trademark law and having knowledge that one of the Souk logos, the nice colorful one of the two, is being used improperly in more than one place. Very, very specifically, srrg.org, a website, Souk Residents for Responsible Governance.org, which is, as far as I'm concerned, using the image inappropriately and without leave. This, as a piece of trademark law, is a private mark, not allowed to be used without permission. And my question is, is this going to be looked into and asked to stop, being used? That's my question. It isn't. And Councilor Ray.
Thank you very much, Moonfist. And yes, tomorrow I'll do an email to the district asking them to look into it. Thank you.
Moonfist, I wasn't aware of that. I agree too. We got to stop that for sure. So I'll send an email too.
Evening, Ms. Parkinson. Question about the sewer system. Please describe your view of expanding the sewer system, especially up Otter Point Road and around Billings State. Mr. Bateman?
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question, please?
Please describe your view of expanding the sewer system, especially up Otter Point Road and around Billings State.
Well, on Thursday.
No, not here yet.
On Thursday night at the all candidates conversation, Mr. Casper noted that it's difficult to get pipe across the bridge over to the Billings Spit area. Logically, we need to keep expanding the sewer system to protect our marine environment. There's some major issues in the Calhassan area in terms of what a expanded sewer system in that region will mean for the neighborhood as it currently exists. A lot of rentals and low-income individuals will be likely forced out as development happens in that area. And moving up Otter Point Road, I don't have an answer to that. Yeah, thank you.
In regards to the sewers, I think that from what I've been listening to and what I've heard is that we cannot be expanding the sewers at this time until we do the infill into the town core. So until that happens, we will not be moving into either line area. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Steve Unger from the Sauk Region Farmland Trust. Question for Brenda and for Mark. Do you believe in climate change, yes or no? How will your belief influence your priorities on council? Thank you.
Yes, I do believe in climate change, and my husband has a great deal to do with that. And I think that it's good. So, Stuart, my husband is interested in climate change and what is happening around the world, and I've listened to him a great deal. So yes, I do believe in it. And what can I do about it? I look to see what I can do to keep our community clean. I try to recycle. I try to do whatever is good for our community. Thank you.
Hello. Yes, I do believe in climate change as well. I'm always looking for more information from the scientific community that keeps gathering up steam and keeps changing and then going back and changing. So I'm still learning about it. Just like I'm sure everyone else in this council, I do recycle, do all the other things. Now, in the last all candidates meeting, I did throw something out there, and that's the council should be checking out the viability of implementing a job sort of rebate with Sauk businesses, for Sauk residents only. Keeping obviously people from driving in, keeping people in the community, and obviously leaving less of a footprint. Whether it's achievable or not, I don't know, but I think we should be looking into the viability of things like that. Thank you.
last time, so I'd like to say it this time. Thank you all very much, sincerely. Thank you so much for what you're doing. So this question I'll try and keep super short. For everyone's benefit though, preface the question here. The residential tax mill rate is around 0.7, meaning for every dollar of assessed value of your house, you're gonna pay about 7 cents in your tax bill. If you want to start a small farm, you're going to pay around 11 cents. So in other words, your tax bill's going to majorly jump if you want to farm or land. And we're talking ALR land here. So there's a tremendous disincentive to getting farm status, which goes against probably conventional wisdom. So my question is to Mr. Whiteson and to Councillor Ray. Would you would you be doing anything about that? Would you look into doing what, for instance, Saanich has done, which is to actually offer an incentive instead of a disincentive to farming one's land?
Absolutely. You know, farmland is very important, and going to the local market for local produce that hasn't driven hundreds and hundreds of miles just to get to our dinner plates is very, very important. I don't know what the deal is up at Saanich, but having just heard that there is one, it's definitely worth looking into and seeing what we can do to encourage soup growers. Thank you.
I agree, absolutely. I always think it's important when people come forward with ideas that addresses the needs of the community, and so it's a great idea. I would certainly support looking into it. And just to touch on your last question, I heard over the summer that people would like to see us using the podcast system to get the council meetings out, so that ends up on the telephone for the kids and the young people, so thank you.
Hi, my name is Barry Cable. First of all, a resident of Duke, but I also live in Sun River. I'm concerned with the last while with council's moves with the land swap in Sun River. We've been waiting for something to happen in the open green space there for quite a while. And the developer has now completed that and given $400,000 to the district. The current direction seems to be to use that for other areas of Souk other than in Sun River, which I think the residents have been waiting for quite a while. And even in the Parks and Trails master plan, it talks about the need as Sun River grows of needing some park space, open space, green space in that area. That area now makes up about 10% of the homes in Souk, and we still don't have that. My question is, what do you feel should be done with that space? There's been 2 councillors in the last few.
The bars are voting for you, that we're going to have support for a project in tourism we can bring.
Mr. Hanson, please.
Well, you all know that my thoughts on amalgamation, but I'm going to say this: if we can't join, or if it's not feasible for us to join the other municipalities, we better do municipal work better than everybody else. If we can't join them, we've got to beat them. And when I look to our east and I see what Langford is doing to ensure that businesses and residents have certainty in their process when dealing with council, we've got to enact those sorts of streamlining. We've got to give guarantees to our businesses that when they're dealing with councils, they get responses in a quick manner, that their projects don't die on the vine. We don't want to see great big holes in our community. We don't want to see a capital city center here. So I think we have to support our developers. We have to support anybody who wants to bring business and opportunity to this town by being fair, inexpensive, fast, and certain. Thank you.
What I would like to see is council actually getting out of your way so you can do the things that you are better at. Governments are the sort of people that know how to drive business as a general rule. It's business people that know how to drive business, and they can do it much, much better than government can. So basically it's about making your life as easy as possible, you know, and trying to stay out of the way so you can do what you need to do, as most businesses should be able to, without government intrusion and government red tape. You know, we can set the rules and regulations so it's an even playing field, but after that, you guys and private businesses are always the way to go. Thank you.
And thank you very much to the councillors. Now, I'm sure that some of you wish you had been asked questions that you were not asked. At this point, we have enough time for 1 minute summaries if you wish to say good night to the crowd and perhaps mention one or two points. Is that fair? Okay, then we'll start. Ken.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with all of you this evening. I am running for council because I love living in Souk. I love my community, I love the people, and I love the area. I wish to give back to the town in a positive way, and I would love to be on council and to have your support. Having been on council previously, I understand what needs to be done, and I would like to work for all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As I said earlier, we've got a great bunch of people up here. I wish them luck, but not that much luck because I'd like to win too. But you know, I want to applaud all of you because of your patience, your listening, your thoughtful questions. And I think as Kevin Pearson mentioned, that we're in this together. And see, that's a little kudo for you, Kevin. And we're in this together because we can't make decisions on our own and in isolation to the good people of this community. And my commitment is to carry on that good working relationship with the future council members, the new mayor, and the citizens of Souk to encourage more public involvement in the decision-making process, because I think that'll make a healthier, sustainable community for Souk. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, thank you very much for your time tonight. I appreciate you all being here. I hope you have some good questions for the mayoral candidates coming up next. I do want to reiterate why I'm here, which is to promote an intercultural and intergenerational approach to community development in Souk, to support the young people and also bring all of the generations and cultures together that we have here for sustainable growth in our community. I do want to leave you with a challenge. I want each one of you in this room to bring at least one person who is under the age of 30 to the polls, either Wednesday or on Saturday the 15th. That is a challenge. Thank you.
Hi everyone, you know where I stand. I'm the pro-am guy. Might be a little crazy to try that out here, but what Mr. Bateman said earlier is absolutely true. We're not looking to jam Souk into one monolithic municipality. That is so far from what we're actually seeking, it's not even funny. We want the province to study whether or not amalgamation in the CRD area is going to benefit the municipalities within it. I'm the first one to say that if it's not going to benefit Souk, I don't want it. I want what benefits us as a community. If amalgamation isn't that, I'm going to be the guy speaking up strongest against it. But I want it studied. Voting for me, you're sending a message to the provincial government that you too would like to see if there's any benefit in it for us, the people of Souk. If I do get elected, I have the background, I have the knowledge and experience that will assist this council. I have no deep-rooted ties to the community. I'm not going to be benefiting businesses or other people that I've had previous relationships with in the Souk area. I'm going to be the voice of common sense that is going to say to the council, we need to look at this, we need to see whether it benefits us and whether we can afford it. So I'm that guy, but only vote for me if you want the province to look into the amalgamation question. Thank you.
Okay, I guess I can look out at the crowd and say, you're part of the family that we all grew up in. We have liked living in Souk, we do like living in Souk, and we will like living in Souk. It's our community. It's a family. I promise you that I will give it my best effort, as I always do, and you will be the voice for me in the background. I live here because I choose to live here, like all of you. My love for Souk is unconditional. It's the home that I've grown up in. My children live here. I met my wife at high school. It's our community, and it is what we make it. Our history is rich with people volunteering forever. We've got great people farming the land, selling their goods. We've got people manufacturing things. It's all happening here. It's just about a sense of pride in our community. I have that pride, I have the love, and I'll continue on with that dedication. I look forward to seeing you guys on November 15th.
My name is Mark Whiteson. I'm seeking offices that care very much about this community and all its citizens within it, and I hope to be part of this community for a very long time. I have not received any funds during this campaign, and I can assure you that I owe nothing to anybody, no obligations. It's not about helping the special interest groups out. It's about spending every single of our hard-earned money. And let's make a mental note of this. This is our money that we get after the provincials and the federals have already taken their share. So that money's even more precious. And we've got to spend it on things like sidewalks, crosswalks, and the emergency services to make sure they have what they need. I look forward to hearing from every one of you about how we should be spending that money to help the whole, not the few. And once we have got all those things accomplished, then we can start to look at the special interest groups and how to do those things. But until there's proper sidewalks, until there's proper emergency services, maybe even an increase in the services for the medical and healthcare instead of people traipsing into Victoria when they're not well, should be at the top of the list first and foremost. If you vote for Whiteson on the election day, that's what you'll be getting. Thank you.
I'd first like to thank the Chamber and the work the Chamber's done putting this on tonight. It's given us a forum for you to come forward and pose your questions, and for that I thank you. And I really do want to give a special thanks to Angela. I just think that was amazingly courageous for you to come up here and pose your question to this council. Thank you, Mr. Stocks, as well. My commitment to you is that I will continue to listen. I will continue to be a team player, and I will continue to work hard for you. I am committed. I believe my decision making has always been a reflection of doing my homework, hearing what you have to say, and making sure that it's consistent and fair. And so I am so passionate about the work on council, and I've had a great team to work with over this past term. So I wish everybody good luck in the election coming ahead. And please, on the 15th, vote Kerry Ray. Thank you.
I just want to thank you too, Mike and Lynn and Ron and Jack, especially David. Well done, guys. There was earlier talk about how much time do you have to dedicate to this position. I spent 37 years in the industry of plumbing. It was a 24/7 job. I left that last March, and I've got all the time in the world, and I'm prepared to dedicate it to the Sault municipality. I promise to give you my all. I am a team player as well. Have had it all my life. I've been a team player with sports and work and employees and the likes of. I promise I'll work hard to get stuff done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sault is the community that helped raise me, and I can't think of any better way to give back to the community than by being on council and being a positive voice. Instead of going into all of the volunteer things that I do via my kids' sports and schools and stuff, I want to say a huge thank you and applaud all of you for questions like road safety, youth voters, social media, recreation, traffic, sewer expansion, food banks, food security. Phenomenal questions you guys brought forward tonight. I love the idea of a Twitter town hall. I think that'd be fantastic to get more youth and everyone involved. Someone once told me that in life there's workers and there's wanters, and I pride myself on being a worker, and I hope that you let me work for you again. Thank you.
Okay, so a few unanswered questions. How many hours a week? About 20 hours a week. I think I can handle it, this minimum wage council job. Food security. We have this remarkable agricultural plan that was developed in 2012, and we need to look at that and even initiate some of those very short-term projects. Nothing has happened with the ag plan yet, so let's get going on that. Alternative energy, we need to work with the First Nation to expand the boundaries of Solar City. Like, let's go with it. Finding a place for seniors is important. Air Manor, the expansion plan's there, my mom's in there, and yeah, this is a wonderful thing. And the gathering place for seniors, sports field improvements for youth. I have a comment on Silver Spray. You know, if we're going to pursue a good neighbors policy, we need to look at the needs of East Souk residents as well. A big tourism attraction out at the end of Possession Point is going to challenge that road system. Mr. Holmes, thank you. What we need, and I think in the district, is more individuals such as himself stepping up with very clear, well-documented issues in our town, stepping up as a delegation in council chambers and requesting what they need. I think then council would be in a position to be in a much better, yeah. There you go. Thank you. Good night.
So I would just like to take the opportunity on behalf of the Chamber to thank the councillor candidates that have provided time to come this evening to answer the questions that they were asked. And of course, this is the point where we're going to be making a transition to our mayoral candidates. And so if you can just bear with us for about a minute and a half until we put those people on stage, we'll continue along.
There. Might want to shut it off. Got that battery back.
So I'm going to get in front there in their faces.
You can go in front of people.
Meetings that have referred specifically about selling off that land, and I'm wondering what your feeling is on the use of that land and the use of that money for the Sun River lands, for the legal agreement specifically says it should be used. I'll address this to, I guess, a few of the new candidates running, as all the other current council members, they've already spoken to council. I guess, Justin, Cal, and Mark, please. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I'm a bit of a split on this one. I think that the $400,000 that was going to be used for the Sun River playing fields should be reserved for like projects, i.e. for other playing fields and other recreational activities in Souk. We should definitely use it for what it was originally intended. It should not go into general revenue, and it should not go into the reserve fund that we have that has not only playing fields and recreational activities, but other items. So we should keep it for playing fields. With respect to the land that's up there now, I don't want to see development on that land. It was sold as a green space. All of the people along Little Park bought houses believing they were going to have a green space behind them. I think there's also an additional problem that I'm not sure has gotten much press, or people haven't really looked into it, and that is what's on that land. I was involved at the very start of Sun River. I may seem too young for that, but I was. And I know that there's some questionable fill that was on Sun River. And I'm guessing that there's some of it up in that green space. Ideally, I would like to see that remain green space, and perhaps even planted with some nice tall trees up there would be good. Thank you.
Darcy, great question. I totally agree with what Justin said. The money was allocated for the people of Sun River so they can have some fields and a school and other bits and bobs nearby them, not at a distance to them. That was the original agreement, and something, if you make an agreement, you have to stick with it. That's what is ethical. Thank you.
It's my understanding that is already in place. It's already been dedicated to the funds and dedicated to playing fields. It's zone P2, and it'll be for athletic purposes only.
Hi, my name is Angela Haddad, and my question is for Mr. Fair and Ms. Parkinson. The food bank is heavily used. What do you suggest to do to help people in need?
questions? Yeah, food bank? Well, from my own personal experience, Rotary just finished revamping the food bank, and it's the Rotary's goal to continue in that sort of work. I'm all in favor of the food bank, of course. Yeah. So leave it to Rotary, they'll fix it.
And it is really sad that there is a need for a food bank here. I know that I have donated to the food bank over the past 13 years since living here, and I would like to see them getting more help at the food bank. I know that the Sun River Gardens donate food to the food bank, and there's a lot of drives for it, and every now and then I volunteer on their committees to do things. Thank you.
This is a question for Ebony and Brenda. What do you think is the importance of food security? What was your living expenses for 2013? Forget the second question. How many hours a week do you think you'll be able to work as counselor? Thank you.
So the first question was food security. And so when I was at the Sioux Harbor House for the information meeting that we had, we talked about food security. And I do believe that we should have more farms, more markets. I think that we should have an all-year market. I think that we should work towards having food security for the entire year as each year goes on. How many hours do I work as council? Right now, I'm a volunteer on council for committees, and I probably, as a volunteer, put in over 20 hours.
Thank you for your questions. Food security, I am one of those people that has a lot of allergies, so I believe strongly in food security. We have a lot of creative people in this town, a lot of entrepreneurs, so there's no reason why we can't build a sustainable farming community. I worked at the Sioux Harbor House for many years, so they kind of trained me in, in food security as well. It's just something I'm passionate about. Hours as a counselor, right now I only work 2.5 days a week. I plan on using the rest of my time to do this, coach basketball as I continue to do at EMCS, and continue to be a sensei at the Sioux Martial Arts Association. Thank you.
Some of these written ones are being upstaged. Food supply was a great interest in a number of people in Sioux. Teamwork. Council, this is about teamwork, and it'll be answered by Mr. Casper and Mr. Pearson. The Sioux region is home to dozens of talented crafters, artists, and musicians. Please describe your view of the proper role for the District of Sioux in supporting, encouraging, and celebrating this cultural richness.
Well, first on the teamwork, our council has worked at a team, and I think everybody here who's running for office, including our two mayoralty candidates, subscribe to that philosophy. As far as this culture is concerned, my wife is 5th generation, and she reminds me of that every day of the week. I guarantee you that. Alita Pierce lives across the street from me, and she reminds me of that on a constant occasion too. But I will say, just last night, we did a motion to name for historic families a tree, a dedication on Wadham's Way. The naming of that street after a long time family and prominent resident of this community, I think is important. Our role and our relationship with the Sioux Nation is recognized throughout the capital region and elsewhere in the province. So I think we can do more with arts, culture, and our history, and enhance that and promote that to the best of our abilities. Thank you.
Never want to follow him. My wife is 5th generation Sioux too, Rick. And Alita Pierce gave me trouble on how I should act on Woodlands Road before you moved to Sioux. So how's that? I think that's my comeback against Casper. No, Rick makes some valid points. I think that this council has demonstrated teamwork. I work on a large team in my day job. Teamwork is the only way to collectively get things done. I talked earlier about a community not being afraid to tell me when something was wrong. And that's really the good part of being on a team. Because the team is not just the people in council, the team is you. That's the team that we subscribe to. What's really, really been interesting to me over the last 3 years is the number of very exciting things that are going on in our community. The cultural wellness of our community is amazing. Our role is to support that in every way we can. Sometimes it's small amounts of monetary things, sometimes it's about sponsorship, sometimes it's about being there, sometimes it's about being a judge at the fall fair. It's all the things that make our community. So it's kind of an interesting question. Do we support culture in our community? Absolutely. Do we have to? It's been demonstrated for the last 100 years in this community. I think we'll continue with that.
To the same candidates and the others that would like to answer to. The community plan shows that the district is using approximately $1.2 million of taxpayers' money to clean empty green spaces. Therefore, we ask why is that part of that land, those empty parks, are not rent to small groups like the ones that we are asking now. I'll to carry right because they twisted my question and they didn't. We are asking our group to rent a piece of land and not for you to give us a barn and to give us a piece of land. It was a mistake.
Okay, I'll try my best. So Margaret, before when you came to council, you did ask for a piece of land, so that's where I automatically went to. So sorry if I misunderstood your question. The $180,000 that you just mentioned earlier is our contracted fee for parks and trails maintenance within the district. So that's not necessarily just pieces of land that we could hand over to anybody for lease. That includes Whip and Spit, that includes parts of our trails, it includes John Phillips Park, as well as all of our green spaces in the community. So again, not to sound like a broken record, I hate to reiterate the fact that I just, at this fiscal point in our community, I don't think it's feasible to rent out land for a feral cat barn at this time.
And again, there's really not much more I can offer you, Mrs. Dominguez. I think it becomes a slippery slope, and I certainly appreciate your passion for feral cats. But I think this council has to be mindful that when we start to go down the road of leasing land or providing land, it becomes a slippery slope. And, lots of people, lots of organizations, lots of groups are going to want the same privilege. And so I think this council, and I believe this council that just sat on, has worked really hard at trying to be fair and consistent. Again, I appreciate what you're doing, but I just don't see that in the best interest of the taxpayers.
Hi, my name is Tom Dezeng. I'm a resident of Sioux. I would actually like all councils members to answer, but I'm pertaining just to two specific ones regarding your thoughts on amalgamation pertaining to Sioux and sort of our unique geographic location. Would you be in favor of amalgamation as a council member for Sioux? And I'll address Cal and Mark.
Mr. Bateman.
Mr. Bateman gets to answer.
Well, I was just telling Bev, no one's asking me any questions. So amalgamation, this pro-amalgamation party seems to be in favor of just investigating amalgamation. My attitude is, I'd like to see amalgamation, or just better neighbors policy with the Souk Nation and the JDF and the CRD and the district working more in unison and concert with our immediate neighbors and the regional district at large. Duplication of services, I guess that's the case, particularly in the larger sections of the community. We're at such a distance. There's a libertarian spirit alive here in Souk, and there's a don't tread on me spirit too. So I'd be really interested to see how this debate would unfold, but I think there needs to be like a formal, larger discussion of the possibilities. Thank you.
Mr. Gaston?
Well, it wasn't that long ago that people decided that they wanted to get rid of the CRD, which one could argue is a form of amalgamation or a regional government that has currently 23 members. We voted to incorporate, to elect local people, to make local decisions, to provide local services that are to the benefit of local people within this community. I don't want to go backwards, and in my mind, amalgamation would truly go backwards. I think this community has a lot to offer and to demonstrate to other jurisdictions that there are things that you can do jointly and together. It's sometimes troublesome that we have 4 fire departments within close proximity servicing 16,000 people, and we have 4 fire chiefs. Is that a good idea? It probably is for those communities, but on the surface, you wonder, why aren't we together? We all respond to each other's fire calls, so maybe the protocols should actually be enhanced in a more formal way, other than just mutual aid agreements, and maybe we should do some cost sharing to benefit everybody. Those are some good things. We have regional policing right now because we're serviced by the RCMP. So, there are some benefits, but I don't want to go back to some huge monolithic style of government with 360,000 people and we only have 12,000. It'll be 3 years before you can get a letter answered. Thank you.
Good evening, Michael Thornton, Souk Point at Silver Spray. My question is for Mr. Whiteson and Mr. Hanson. This council and this mayor have done a great service to re-inspire and reinvigorate Silver Spray, which has now created Souk Point. I've poured 19 years now of my life into this project. It's majorly significant. The encouragement working with this council, the creativeness working with this council, I'm a firm believer just as with fishing, we earn so much more for sport fishing than we do commercial fishing per pound. To me, we earn our way into prosperity, we don't tax it into prosperity. The best chance Souk has, in my opinion, is through tourism. To get to tourism, we have to have a hit. I want Souk Point to be a hit of British Columbia of the world. I'm playing at that level. I'm totally committed to play at that level. When I hear words, as you raised, that there's negotiation for any step forward, I just want to feel reassured that there's creativity, but sometimes things die on the vine. That's all. Like I know myself. I put 6 years, 64 hearings. Yes, the question is simply, if there's a lot of time wasted in negotiation instead of getting the job done, sometimes things die on the vine. What assurance do I have to know if I'm voting for you or supporter?
Good job, Ebony.
Just see if this is focused on the two of them.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start with the mayoral candidates at this point in time, so if you could please grab your seats. The format for this portion of the evening is going to be exactly the same as before with the councillor candidates. The difference, of course, is that our mayoral candidates will each answer all questions. We will just give 1 second here for a few people to grab their chairs, and then I'm going to turn the microphone over to Mr. David Stocks whenever he's ready.
I'll rise where they're sitting. This format, we'll start with opening remarks, and Ms. Tate will speak first.
Good evening. I would like to begin by formally recognizing the traditional territory of the South Nation and welcome you all to this event this evening. When you do a vote for mayor, what are you voting for? What is the role of the mayor? I believe that the mayor's role is to bring the community together, to work in your interests, to improve the quality of life of all of our residents, and to spend money wisely. When I first ran for council in 2008 as Tate 08, it was on a platform of fairness and balance. And that was an approach that I took from that day forward to this moment now. In 2011, it was a love for the community, an appreciation for the values and the respect for everyone that was here. And I vowed to listen, to learn from the wisdom of past decisions, and to also get along with others. And that was interesting because I was voting for the other guy at the time. These past 6 years have been an incredible experience. It's given me a deeper understanding of the community, the values, our heritage, and our future opportunities. There are many similarities between myself and the other candidate. We have a similar platform. We both hold the interests of the community high above us. 6 years on council, served on different committees. We both have a passion to work hard, and we both have a fire to fight that fight. So where do we differ, aside from stating the obvious? I suppose for myself, it was the ability to remain professional, to get along and to work with all members of council, past, present, our MLA, our MP, the South Nation, community leaders, and of course our professional staff, and to disagree without being disagreeable. We speak a lot about the 90% unanimous decisions. It's the 10% is where we differ and the approach that we've taken. Will I be a full-time mayor for Sooke? No, because I don't believe Sooke needs somebody sitting in a desk for 40 hours a week. That's a boss. You have one. He's your CAO. My pledge is to be an effective mayor, is to find ways to engage with you outside of council chambers, to be out in the streets, sharing, talking, communicating, and bringing the message from council to you. I've learned a lot through this campaign on how to engage with our residents. And it's sad that we only do that once every time there's an election. It's something we need to do more often, and we need to find innovative ways to do that. And a lot of the councillors that were running for, the candidates for council spoke to that as well and provided some great ideas for that. As a mayor, I tend to draw up the strength of the others around me. There's 10 dynamic people running for 6 seats and all have various skills and talents that they bring forward. My job would be to pull those out and to put them forward for you. To engage our professional staff so that we get the results and the answers that we need to those tough questions. And to always honor the past while looking ahead and being mindful of the taxpayers' contributions. On November 15th, please vote yes. Allow us to restate our opposition for increase in tanker traffic in our coastal waters. And please also vote yes for the continued work to build and recreate or redevelop, redesign, whatever, community facilities for both our young people and our seniors. Thank you to the Sooke Region Chamber for hosting this event. I appreciate the time you took to be here tonight. Thank you.
Well, my name's Herb Haldane, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm running for mayor as well.
I had the privilege of going to John Muir School today. I spent a couple hours with the kids, and one of the vice principals there, he'd asked me if I would come down there and explain to kids what being on council is all about and why I'm running for mayor and so on and so forth. I took the time to go mostly, I think it's because of a community thing. I've spent a lot of time in this town, and I've grown up here, and as Kevin Pearson said earlier, you know, we have a passion for this place, mostly because we go back so many generations. When I talk to the kids, they have the same questions you guys have had here tonight. It's kind of unreal. I guess they've talked to their parents in a lot of cases, and their parents are telling them it's the same thing. It's about sidewalks, it's about busing, it's about downtown, sporting facilities, and so on. And they just kept coming up with them. And you kind of felt like Bill Cosby there for a little bit, because some of the answers they come up with kind of catch you off guard. But part of it, I think, is because some of it makes you sad. The misunderstandings we have about some of the kids and their families and what they go through. I think part of our reason for being here is because we want to fix things in this town. And some of us are better at it than others, and some of us have talents. And really, it just depends on what those talents are and how you can use them. I can try and explain to you how I come along with my talents and stuff. And I like to work hard, and I like to work for my community. But I had an old baseball coach, and his name's Don Smith. And oddly enough, he's one of these guys who goes to AW every day, and I get to talk to him on the odd occasion that he isn't grumbling at me or cursing at me. But when I was a kid, I played on his ball team, and everybody wanted to win. Back in those days, they had some pretty strong coaches. Finn Kennedy is another name that comes to mind. And they weren't the most gentle people, but they gave a lot of time to the community. And Don, when I was on his team, I wasn't the best ball player, not even by a long shot. So he told me one time, he said, "Kid, you're terrible. I don't even know where I can use you on the team." He says, "What can you do for me that can make me want to keep you?" And I said to him, I said, "Well, you know, I don't know. I can't hit. I could barely catch. But I wanted to be part of a group and a team." So he said to me, he said, "Well, are you capable of standing up, cheering on your team, yelling, clapping, carrying on?" I said, "Yeah, I can do all that." And he said to me, "More importantly, can you yell at the other team?" I said, "Oh yeah, no, I can develop that. I think I could work that into it, no problem at all." He said, "Well, I tell you, if you can't, I'm trading you in for an old baseball mitt." And I said to him, I said, "Well, I'll try my best, I'll do what I can." 3 years I played for Don. I didn't get a lot of batting in, I didn't catch the ball a lot, but I didn't get traded in for that baseball mitt. And I don't want you guys to trade me in either. So vote for me on November 15th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, there were 29 questions submitted for the mayor candidates using the process the chamber had with these little acrylic boxes. We haven't got time for 29. I've blown them down to 8 topics. So when you're answering a topic, feel free to expand beyond the words that I use, please. And the first question has to do with recreation services. You'll find some of these are very similar to the earlier questions, and the first answer will be you, Herb. Recreation services. Please give us your views about recreation and support services for youth and seniors. Citizens are interested in a permanent senior center, a youth drop-in center, and some of the questioners mentioned perhaps a movie theater or something. Possible expansion of the Sea Park Recreation Complex, and the fate of the Soup Potholes Camp.
Well, I got to hear the last members of council and those looking for the job to talk about it. I mean, I think Souk is in desperate need of recreational facilities, but I think the problem we run into is how do we finance them? The Sea Park costs us $1.6 million a year right now collectively, and there's value there, so don't get me wrong, but how much more can we tax people to give more? We do have a lot of wilderness and a lot of trails and parks and stuff outside the Souk area and up in the hills that don't cost us a whole bunch, and we don't even have to maintain them. But we do have to get people there accessible. There's been talk with the whole Harbor View thing for years, but we have to take into consideration the fact there's 3 lakes up there, and how do you get to them? And oddly enough today, I came up with one of the kids in the John Muir. He said, how are you going to get us to those lakes? My dad tells me there's lakes up there. And I said, well, I would hope we could work with CRD and come up with a transportation method. It takes you 3 to 4 hours to walk up there if you're an adult. So a kid can't do it, and surely a grandparent's not going to be able to drag a grandchild up there to do it. And if you needed to use the lakes, you need a boat or you need fishing gear and so on. So I would hope that maybe we can work something out with CRD to come up with a transportation method. It doesn't have to be four-wheel driving quads and motorcycles. It just needs to be a way to get you from the gate down the bottom to the top there, so we can utilize some lakes. I mean, we don't have a lot of recreational lakes around Souk there that are available to us. As far as the senior center, I'm with Kevin Pearson. I agree. I think we have to try and do the best we can with the monies that we have available. And I think we should fix up the community hall. The community hall is an old building, but it's a sturdy building. And I'm in building myself, and I understand the building code. Part 9 of the building code is residential. Part 3 is called assembly occupancy, and that's for buildings that are used by people in a community. And assembly occupancy costs $300 a square foot, roughly, to build, where residential costs you about $150 a square foot to build. So start adding up all those square feet we're going to need if we wanted to start from scratch, and it'll add up real quick. And every time we go to a tender and somebody says we can do the building for $2 million or $3 million, you already know it's going to cost you $6 million. So yeah, I think we have some work there, but I do support all that.
We do need places where our youth can mingle and our seniors can gather, and there's been work started by various community groups in finding out what that looks like and what it could be and where it could be. I agree with repurposing the community hall and finding ways to put that space to use. Is it enough for a growing community? I'm not so sure. In terms of youth, I'd rather hear from the youth what they feel is important to gather. There's nothing worse than building a space and then they don't come because it's something, you know, I thought of, and it's just really uncool now for younger people. So really it's engaging with the youth to find out what is best for them. In terms of the Sea Park Commission, there's been a lot of feedback about the creation of multi-purpose rooms to be put into the building, and perhaps when the pool loan is finished off, which is in a couple of years, the commission can look at that and bring some ideas forward to council to consider and to see how cost effective that could be. If it's shovel ready, there's an opportunity to advocate for grants from upper levels of government and to partner with other agencies to see what we can do there. With the potholes in the CRD, there was a split vote on council for the taxes. I inquired with the CRD as to what we could do to get that open again, because I think it's a real asset for our community. And that process is happening now. As I understand it, the Land Conservancy would pass it over to the CRD, and then they would look at ways of operating it. There is a model in place already, so hopefully they can get that going for next summer. And in terms of access to recreation, we are surrounded by beautiful mountains and the harbor, and I would really like to look at ways to access the water, to get more activity happening there, and to access the hills as well. I've been in dialogue with Chief Planis of the South Nation for the areas called Broom Hill. We call them Sacred Mountain, in terms of what can be done for recreational access there, particularly with mountain biking, hiking, and also through Harborview. You can get up there. You can get up there on a bike. I know that once you reach a certain point, the road is heavily deteriorated. It's like going up a dry creek bed. So putting up a road would be extremely challenging. I think at this pace, let's focus on access for those non-motorized users, get some trails, signage, and have our young people enjoying the hills. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Anne Fredette. I moved to Souk 5 years ago, and I too am passionate about Souk. As I look out over Whip and Spit and watch the tankers go by and pause because they can't meet if they're big enough, then one has to stop and wait until the other one goes through. My question to you is, if the citizens of Souk vote to oppose the increased tanker traffic off the straits and off the coast, what is your next action going to be if we elect you mayor?
Thank you, Ms. Burdett, for that very important question. This is something that's been troubling island coastal communities for a number of years now. The tanker traffic is set to increase by some 300% is the projections. And when you look at, even if it isn't that high, every vessel that goes by is going to produce a lot of emissions into our water, which will be very damaging on our recreational activities. I think the first step when we finish, when we meet as a new council, is to discuss not just the outcome, whether it's good or bad, but the point that it actually made it onto the ballot. That's a very important point, first off. I think secondly is to call our peers on the island and say, look, we stood up and spoke on this. You're on the island too. What are you doing in your community? Because we really need to start working together. The other point is to work with the South Nation. They have intervener status. They've taken a real stand on this. They're standing there alone. So what can we do to support them? And I think going forward, it will demonstrate that the environment is important, our harbor is important, what can we do to access it, and what sort of initiatives can we implement so that we recognize climate change is here, and we need to do a shift and really start to look at alternative energy and get out of that car and onto the bike, onto walking, and find better ways just to go forward for the future. Let's make our kids proud. Thank you.
Well, I'm all about the democratic process, and we put this out on the ballot for a reason, because it's up to people at Souk to decide which direction they want to go next. And if it does vote in favor of trying to lower or cut back on the tanker traffic, well then we have a responsibility to go to UBCM and to FCM and explain how our town took on this vote. You got to keep in mind, it's, when they talk about global warming, it's global. That means all over the world. It's not just here. I mean, we have 30 some odd million people in this country, and they've got billions of people in India and China and so on. And after going to China on one occasion, I did see how much pollution is there. So I'm against the whole tanker traffic and the whole exploitation of the oil industry and so on. But the whole natural gas thing, we have to give that some consideration, because that's what is going to China. They're burning our coal right now. And if we care about the world as a whole, and not just our little area here, we care about the world, we understand that clean burning natural gas is actually better than them burning coal. So we have to make up our mind in global or just local. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Christine Schlattner. It's my understanding that the last two mayors had very different leadership styles, and so I wanted to ask both of the candidates what their specific approach to leadership would be. How would they interact with the staff, the citizens, and the council to bring Souk forward? Thank you.
Well, that's correct. The last, excuse me, two mayors did have they had a very different style of governing. I think it was tougher on Wendell because he came in without any previous experience at council, and once he learned how big the learning curve was, he realized that he had to start counting on staff a lot more. There's a delegation process that we've missed in the 6 years I've been on council. So mayors tend to take on the role as the mayor, and somehow, in both cases with these two mayors, even though they're both quite different, they both decided to govern mostly on their own. You can delegate responsibility to councillors, and you want councillors to feel like they're important. You want councillors to feel like they have a say. So you should be delegating a lot like they do in Langford, and Langford's very successful. You have to delegate some decent authority to them so that they can feel like they're making some sort of progress in their own town. When everything has to go through a mayor before any decision is made on any level, before it goes to staff, well then it tends to get convoluted in there. I think if you have portfolios where you have the finance, you have land use and so on, you need to give that kind of power to each councillor so they can feel like they're adding to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schlattner. It's about shared portfolios and sharing leadership. It's working together and to draw the strengths of those around. You've heard from the council candidates the time that they have, where their interests lie. When we form and we set our priorities, I think it's dividing that up and to really engage councillors so that they feel valued and that they're contributing. Because otherwise they'll find things to do on their own anyway. The other option, of course, is to really, it's not an option, but it's engaging the professional staff. You pay for them, they're at the district, I think they're underutilized, And it's about putting the idea, we set the vision and they do the work. So it's improving the communication between the two groups. And I think as mayor, it's recognizing that, it's finding ways to pair counselors with staff so that the priorities happen and they roll forward and everyone is feeling engaged and everyone is feeling valued. There was one quote that I brought here, and it was from Nelson Mandela. He said, "It's better to lead from behind than to put others in front, especially when you celebrate victory when nice things occur. You take the front line when there's danger." That is how I would lead. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Paul Holmes. I'm a resident here in Souk, and I've had the opportunity to speak to both of you. In fact, I'm pretty sure I voted for both of you last time, and now I have to choose. So, we have a fantastic community, and the youth in this community are by and large an amazing component of that. I've had an opportunity, in my experience, to volunteer in a number of capacities working with youth, and caring for youth is a primary responsibility that cannot be taken lightly. Best laid plans were put on paper when they developed the area around Poirier School. I'm sure it looked absolutely fantastic on paper. Neither of you two were on council at the time. You can't be held responsible. But when you look at it and the dangerous situation that has occurred as a result around that school, of the actual implementation of that plan, something has to change. So will you commit to, if it's not a sidewalk because you don't think it can be built, what can you do, and will you commit to fixing this very dangerous situation that's happening at Poirier School? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. What I can't commit to is looking at it. I've been there on the weekend, but of course that's when there's no parents and no kids. So it's difficult for me to really picture what you're describing. When I spoke to staff about it, it is completed. Like everything's been signed off. The offsite work by the developers is finished now. And so if you're going to put more money into sidewalks, there's areas of rhodonite where there's absolutely nothing. And so to now put in a double sidewalk in one area when there's nothing one street over, I think we need to look at that. But now that you've shared a little bit more information with me, I'm trying to just gather what it is. So I need to look at it. That's all I can do at this point, is see what's happening during the school drop on and off hours. You did share with me that at the other elementary schools, the parents are able to drop the kids right off at the door, where it's different over in Poirier. So it's something that needs to be looked at, and that's really all I would commit to at this time. Thank you for the question.
Well, sadly what happened was previous to 2009, because 2009 is when we developed our transportation road master plan for Souk. And we made the minimum road width 14 meters, which would allow double sidewalks. So back then when they developed that subdivision, it was a 12-meter wide road dedication, which takes away 2 meters, which was enough property to manage the sidewalk. Since then, 2009, as I said, we did the transportation master plan. And then we also redid bylaw 65, which came up here earlier, Councillor Pearson mentioned it. And bylaw 65 now has these road cross sections in the bylaw. So there is no roads cross section of Souk that can be less than 14 meters anymore. So what happened was the old just started working to the new. We were quite a new municipality back then, and sadly enough, we're paying a price for it now, but hopefully going into the future we can deal with this stuff. Thank you.
Well, there's been a lot of presentation here tonight, and I appreciate the Poirier School. I appreciate East Souk, but we got a problem, and it's right outside this hotel. I spearheaded the boat launch. Now we got to do something about the parking. Like, I want you as mayoral potentials to tell these people what we're going to do about the parking.
Well, I can tell you what I've tried to do. We had a deal, there's a fellow who owns property across the road named Ted Shaw. And he came to us one time And in our official community plan, it shows his property as being a technical industrial park. And he's got about 45 to 50 acres of farmland over there. And the reason that was going to be taken out of the ALR at the time was because Souk needed to grow somewhere, and this was a piece of property mill. And the official community plan states this. So when he came to us, he said, listen, if you guys want parking for the boat launch, I'm willing to give it to you, but I want a letter from the District of Souk stating that they will accept my property coming out of the ALR. We never gave him the letter. So he was willing to give us 3 acres across the road. We could use it for seniors, parking, you name it, whatever you want, if the land came out of the ALR. We didn't make the deal. If people here in this room are prepared to cut and make deals with landowners to be able to get some amenities for this town, then I'm prepared to make these deals. Highways has also talked about widening the shoulder on there, but of course that comes with a whole bunch of money and land acquisition as well. I'd rather make the deal with a local farm guy who's already been told that his land should be coming out of the ALR. Thank you.
Thank you. The parking is a mess. I recognize that with the fishing and all the trucks on the road. I don't know what it's like out there right now, but I know a lot of people came really early to make sure that they had parking. It's a problem. And I think number one is to recognize that. Number two, cycling and pedestrian access is very dangerous on that road. So when anyone is trying to actually walk and get into the core, it's a challenge and they can't do it, and that's a problem. So I think what needs to happen is we need to have a really good open dialogue about this. The hotel's present, the current boat launch operator, emergency services, area residents, council, anyone that's really interested, meet here, try to find a time when before fishing season starts. I know we're in the shoulder season of halibut, but we really want to deal with this soon, so it does have to be something the council takes, forms as an immediate priority, and then set a plan and just do it right away and try to set a timeline before fishing season starts up again. I think at the same time as conferences and wedding events are had, we really have to encourage the hotel that there's some form of shuttle or carpooling service provided for those events.
Loretta Deutscher. First, I'd like to thank all of the candidates for coming out tonight and speaking from your heart. My question is regarding the integrated health network that's operating in Souk. We are very fortunate that we have that network operating in Souk, and the council has in the past been very, very supportive of that network. My question is, as mayoralty candidates, what do you intend to do to ensure that not only that network remain, but that it grow and possibly attract more physicians and more services? Thank you.
Thank you, Norma. Over the past year, Mayor Milne has led and participated in a working group called GP for Me. And it was about getting more family physicians to Souk to service our growing population, because as I understand it, 50% of our residents are without a family doctor. With the integrated health services, that's about having a variety of practitioners working together to service the needs of any particular resident. And I've heard that that funding is at risk, and that was something that was brought up when the panel met just last weekend. Going forward, this would be a table that I would like to continue on with. It's a file that I would like to receive from the mayor and to see what updates he's had. He's told me they meet monthly, and in a lot of cases, it's just the presence of the mayor has brought the attention to it and finding ways to go forward. We are in a shortage of doctors, and when we ask what barriers are there to have doctors not come here, it's work for the spouse and activities or school activities or schools for the kids. So I think also looking at that as a more complete thing. Health is an industry that can attract a lot more people here, but finding out what sort of employment opportunities would the partner be looking for, and what's missing in our schools, or what can we do to improve that, and then we promote that and champion that, because this is a great place to live. Thank you.
Well, we talked earlier about portfolios, and I didn't get a chance to sit on this at all, but My aunt was in charge of hospice. That's Jerry Cummings. She did that for close to 20 years. I understand the need because my dad's still senior. He lives up in Lannon Creek Park now. It's obvious. It's like, do you like a basket of kittens? Of course I do. I mean, I understand exactly what we need in this town. As far as the doctors go, I was talking to Rasmus Rabin, and his son's a doctor here in Sioux. And he was telling me that the problem they're running into now is the fact that younger doctors don't want to buy practices anymore. They want to be able to travel the world, spend their money, they want to be able to do the lively things, and they get paid quite well for it, so they have a lot of disposable income. So to try to get the younger doctors to take the responsibilities of the ones that we're used to over time, it's not happening as much as it used to. So now to attract them, you have to offer incentives. So up north, of course, they offer all these different incentives to get doctors to go up there. So now in the great places to live, you're almost going to have to start doing that because the doctors, they come here to live. They take off from around the world and do all this other stuff. So yeah, of course I support everything. And I do understand that the funding was being sort of a condition here, and as usual, the province there, they're taking their aim at trying to cut costs somewhere, but I don't think this is the place to do it. Thank you.
Another one of the questions submitted by the public. The title is Business Climate. Please tell us your view of economic development in Sioux, including supporting local businesses, attracting new businesses, working with the Chamber of Commerce and the Sioux Region Tourism Association.
Well, I think most people understand the road problem we have in Sioux. And to attract any new type of business as far as manufacturing or anything that creates a trucking route, we have the one road in, we have the one road out. So we're kind of stuck out on a peninsula in a sense. So places like Langford have roads coming in from all over, even places out in central Saanich and even Sydney, because they still have the ferry that takes goods out that way. So we're kind of at odds because most of these big manufacturing businesses are never going to want to come out here because we can't guarantee them a trade route. So what we have to do is we have to look locally. There was talk earlier about public markets and locally grown food and locally manufactured goods. And I'm a proponent of that because I think that that's one way that we can try to get business off the ground here. I mean, we can't kid ourselves and think that all these big money businesses are going to want to come to Sioux for any other reason than quality of life. So if we could come up with a tech park, which is fiber optic cables, and coming up with this 47-acre piece of land that this farm guy wants to turn into a technical park, it gives us the option of setting up some of the stuff that was talked about by the young people here earlier, which is these computer database centers and stuff that has to do with the technology of today, which I know very little about, but we have good people with that. So in this case here, I think the chamber, they're a big player, CERTA is a big player, regional tourism, and obviously we have committees and whatnot set up with these groups now. I would like to continue working on those cases. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been about 7 years since the market collapsed, and we're slowly working our way out of that. In conversations with the Chamber and the CERTA, both entities wish to be more sustainable, so they're not always subject to council funding or the scrutiny that may go with that. So how can you make these groups more independent so that they can really find and nurture and incubate the ideas? Some of it is the implementation of a hotel tax, and that has started, and that would be funding that would be gathered by the hoteliers and used for promotion, tourism promotion of this area. The others is to repurpose the business license fee, and then by that way, as the fees grow, you can see incrementally where it is and in which segment it's lying in. Is it small business, medium? Are we seeing a shift between one or the other? There's a document we send out every year, and the different businesses complete it. So there's a good way to get some real statistical information there. Both of those groups are starting to work together, and also with the Mayor's Panel on Economic Development is a very free-flowing group that has the ability to set their own agenda, to try out different ideas. There's been a lot of interesting speakers that have come out to Sioux to talk about different things we could do. One challenge with, with fiber optic feed is that it's a bit weak right now, and that's a challenge for telecommuters. And I really think a lot of it comes to growing the town center so that there's a place where people can gather. That'll bring the businesses, the pub, the restaurant, all those things, so we have a more lively, vibrant center.
Thank you. Souk is losing farms. It's losing farmers. 97% of our food comes from off-island. There's only a 3 days food supply in our stores. Farming is dying in Souk. In 2012, while you guys were councillors, Souk came up with an agricultural plan. That plan has sat on the shelf since 2012. When are you going to take that plan off the shelf and implement some of the very good recommendations in it? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. There's a small book down at the museum that was done by mayoral Wickham, and it talked about his history and farming here. And I read that, and I was just totally blown away about how self-sustainable and how secure Souk once was for food for its residents, and how we've shifted completely away from that. With the campaign rolling, there's been a lot of input on farming, and there's been some young families.
The big scales that people try to buy the fancy equipment and the special tractors and so on. But the small farms where somebody has 2 and 3 and 5 acre stuff. And I go to that market on the weekends there that's down by the used place, just past the gas station. And I buy things all the time. Plants, flowers, vegetables, you name it. But the whole thing here is there's obviously a financial challenge to it. Otherwise, we'd be farming a whole lot more. It's going to be a subsidy situation. And sadly enough, it's no different than the arts. It's no different than the lady here about the cats and so on. How much money can you afford to subsidize or put into it? How much are you willing to? So in the plans, I mean, I think that would come down to that. I mean, are people willing to spend $5 for a tomato as opposed to a 50-cent one that comes from somewhere else? I believe in farming. I think it would be great. But there's labor challenges, and of course there's taxes and property challenges. But I think the small farming is the way to go for sustainability, because I think then 2 or 3 people can take care of that, and they don't have to have really expensive equipment for that. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the allotted time. I'm quite sure that the candidates will stay afterward to answer your questions and communicate with you. At this point, I'd like to ask the mayor candidates to make any concluding remarks they'd like to make for a minute or two, and it would be the reverse order, so Mr. Howell.
Thank you. I'll go back to the John Muir kids that I talked to today, and the big question I think for me was, one kid said, "Why would you want to be the mayor?" And I had to sit there for a second, because I didn't think of a question like that, especially coming from a kid. And I sat there, I perplexed myself, and I said, well, I'll tell you why. And I said, you guys all have soccer coaches, and you have baseball coaches, and you have people who teach you things in your life. And I said, those people usually volunteer that time, and that's how you get to learn those things. And I said, that happened to me as well. I said, there was people in this town when I was little, they taught me to swim, and ride a bike, and kick a soccer ball, and so on. But most of all, I think my community, they taught me to give back or to embrace the core values that we need to live a full life. And in this case, they teach me to be more gratified about giving than receiving. And to become mayor would be an opportunity to carry the legacy forward.
It was Gandhi that said, I suppose leadership at one time meant muscles, but today it means getting along with people. And I believe the role as the mayor is to bring people together. I'm very grateful to have served you on council. It's been a very rewarding experience. When we first formed as council this second time, I sort of felt like we were in a dysfunctional family. And we were all sort of put together there. But gradually over time, we got to know one another. We learned the different styles each and every one had. And I've really grown to appreciate everyone that I've served with. I'd like to give thanks to Mayor Wendell Milne for the time and dedication he's put forward to this community. I thank him for his leadership. I would also like to thank Herb Haldane When we first got on council together, Herb and I spent some time with coffee with council. No one came, it was just the two of us. So we started driving around Souk, and he would point out various places of interest and tell me stories and give me that background. I really appreciate that he took the time to do that, and I'll always remember and thank him for it. As we go forward, there will only be one of us standing. I hope that it's me. I ask for your support, your vote, and as we go forward, it would be your interests that I'll always be advocating for. I thank my husband for his support, my family, my team, my volunteers, everyone. You've been wonderful, the support, the encouragement at the door, and my commitment going forward is to engage with you more often. I think when council forms its messages, it needs to take it to the street. When we want to engage with youth, we take it to the high school, to the senior center. So we're not just all locked up in this building that is very difficult and formal and somewhat stiff and unwelcoming. Thank you for everyone for coming tonight and for participating. I very much appreciate it.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out this evening. As I said earlier, we set up 400 chairs and it was standing room only. So that's fantastic. Appreciate